Good evening. We'll start the Board of Selectmen meeting. It's Monday, the 7th of November at 5:30. The first item we wish to work on are the minutes, the regular meeting minutes of October the 3rd. And we have a motion to consider those.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the October 3rd Board of Selectmen meeting.
Second.
All right. Discussion on them?
The only thing I just want people to understand is that we didn't put public comment at the end. It was just two people who didn't make public comment at the end. It's stated there, correct? And Michael Barnes. But I didn't want them to think we moved public comment totally to the end. They just said something.
Yeah,
they put it in.
Gotcha. All right, we're ready to vote. All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, the second set of minutes, I'm not sure whether you were able to look at those.
I did.
Okay, great. So
I'll make a motion to approve the special board meeting on November 4, 2022.
And I will second that.
You seconded it. Okay. All right, discussion on the minutes, please.
Minutes, I think, are
I know I looked at your
quite
right up and so forth.
Yes. I think the facts that are in here are accurate enough, and the paperwork for the grievance speaks for itself with dates, et cetera. So I don't think we have to actually attach them into here because it's right on all the paperwork.
Well, I'm sure we need to have a written response. We did the first one, so that'll be forthcoming.
I think once you and Matt respond to the attorney, he'll get on that.
Right.
He'll get a draft to us.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we vote?
Nope.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. The next item, well, let me just say before we proceed, we do have some visitors that I think we can, after the town of Maheg, we might move a couple of points further down the agenda so that they don't have to wait through the whole meeting.
Okay.
And I can explain that. But so we'll take town of Maheg here.
Public comment. Public comment.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, public comment. Anybody in the audience wish to make public comment? Anybody on the telephone would care to make public comment?
Okay, come on up.
Oh, come on up.
Should I?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, you want to bring a chair up, or you?
A chair would be awesome. Thank you. Thank you. This isn't my forte, public speaking, but I'll do my
Mary
best.
Daly.
Mary Daly.
Yes.
Portland Avenue, Old Lyme. So with interest, I read the minutes from the Selectmen meeting in October in special regard to the meeting that was held between all the WPCA chairs and Senator Formica, and there was no detail. So when I was looking for the detail, because as you know, that's a very important subject to me and my neighbors. I reached out to the WPCA chairman who copied you on his response, which is basically, there's no minutes and I really don't have to tell you what was said. So in that regard, and you all have a copy of his response too, I drove to here for the October WPCA meeting because there was no remote access at all, which again, most of the people who are directly impacted by this major project are now home in their own school systems, in their own towns, and they can't easily get here in person on a weeknight when they have children and other responsibilities. So it's...
You're speaking of the meeting on the 27th of August?
No, this is the October meeting. the WPCA October meeting. And the Selectmen October meeting as well, but in person. And so anyway, I drove there since I couldn't get any information by email from our chairman. And I was, again, like I was there, they didn't have a quorum because there was no remote access. There was only 4 members of the board who attended, and myself and Jennifer. So when I read the meeting minutes, the first thing that struck me was that she said there were 3 members of the public there. I was the only person there. But the minutes, again, like I'm not criticizing her so much as the lack of some of the accurate detail and things that were discussed, and the importance of this project. This project is, it's history for this town. It's probably the largest, most complicated project this town has ever taken on. And I strongly believe that every bit of it should be recorded and made public and be of public access, not behind closed doors when not necessary. That all that information has to be recorded so we can go back a year or 2 or 5 years from now and know why we did what we did. It's not being recorded, and that is my first grievance here tonight, is that we need to do a better job of recording those particular meetings. We're talking about $51 million, if not more. $51 million without contingencies, so it's more than that. So I think it's very important for this town to be kept abreast, for information to be free and flowing, not held secret. I don't understand why it would be or why it is. That's my issue. Is the no Zoom, and we need to correct that going forward, especially for the next meeting. It's so important now, not just to Soundview and Area B, but for the other beach communities, as well as any other community that wants to develop in the near future. So I'm going to get off of that topic now. One of the things that was missing, when I talked at the WPCA meeting, I brought up there was a property in Miami Beach that had to do an engineered system as part of a sale. It went unnoticed that that particular septic system had no bottom to it. It was freely flowing into the stream behind it. And I had mentioned to them that it would behoove the town to look at Westbrook's sewer ordinance, not just do a pump out every 7 years, but to also change it to 5, and also require that the tanks be inspected. And I think if we did do that, we could avoid a lot of pollution going forward, not just along the shoreline, but maybe over at Rogers Lake, 4 Mile Road, Halls Road. I think it's a good move for the entire town. Our septic systems are old. We don't know which ones are leaking and which aren't. We do know that not all of them are. Some of them may, and we need to identify those that are. The WPCA has the power to do that, and we should have that ordinance changed to include inspection. I strongly believe that. And I believe that if we did that, we'd be able to identify the 1 out of 20 or the 1 out of 30 offending household properties that are polluting, and we could then use our funds to address those properties with a green solution that allows that property to remain, their independence and keep their property, where it should be, the responsibility where it should be. Mm-hmm. The long and short of that meeting, I'm not sure because, but I guess my understanding is the last meeting with Senator Formica, was there is no additional funding. There is none. We've already gone to the state, and the state has said, DEP has said no, they will not increase their funding. We've already gone to the federal. We've gone everywhere possible. We've gone way further than we did with White Sands, when White Sands was excused because of cost. And I think it's time for the Board of Selectmen to help the WPCA to change direction. We cannot wait. What was mentioned at that meeting was there may be funding in another year or 2. Listen, we've already 10 years down the road now. People are sitting on their properties who know they should do upgrades, but they're not going to upgrade their individual systems. If hanging over their heads is a threat that in a year or 2, they're going to have to pony up another 35 or more to hook into a sewer system that they don't want. but they'll be mandated to do. So by continuing to stall and not reach a decision and change a direction, we as a town are creating pollution. We are all creating pollution at this point. And I think it's up to this Board of Selectmen to direct the WPCA to go back to DEP with a different recommendation, one that we can afford, which is to do inspections, to address the problems that we do have, that we identify, and move forward in that direction. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mary, I do want you to know, though, that one of the town projects is to do better Zoom or whatever, but that is part of one of the ARPA things. So we are hoping that all of our meetings will be able to be much more accessible to everyone. And I'm sure that Matt and Tim and I are...
This system works adequately.
Well, she means that so people can, but we're working on it. And
Thank you.
The money's going out, and I think our IT person will be leading that charge. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully in the next month, we should have some ideas of what we're going to do.
Thank you. I know during COVID, Zoom became very popular and easy to use. We've used it, on a less formal basis, and we've done fine with it. Perhaps I know some of the acoustics in this building might not be correct for Zoom meetings, but then there's a library across the street with meeting rooms, and that might be applicable as well. Okay, I mean, we have to start thinking outside of the box. We can't just say, I don't know how to do it, and therefore we're not going to inform you of what's going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Anyone else wish to? Okay.
Anybody on the phone? Or, no, there was nobody.
We asked earlier, yeah. All right, concerning Town-of-Maheg Landing, we know that the report has been shared with Mr. Frampton, so that has been looked over, and there's been some back and forth between our council and Mr. Frampton. I think at this point there has been some discussion about perhaps could there be some form of mediation where there might be a resource in the Attorney General's office that could perhaps play a non-binding role, and perhaps it would be at no charge, which would be good, but to see if that might come up with a nice conclusion. So I think that is being explored. I think, though, that from the town's perspective, we would still like to have some signage at the landing that would inform people of certain things, not a whole lot of detail, but first there could be a sign that would say outside the gate that there'd be Town-of-Maheg Landing with hours. I don't know that I have the exact hours, but it could be from, say, 8 a.m. to sunset, something of that sort, so that there'd be perhaps mirror what the Park and Rec does in their various parks. And then as you come in, I think there could be a sign that would have an arrow pointing to the left, which would be the private driveway, and it would say private drive, no entry, and then another arrow pointing you to the right, which would direct people to the landing. And at the bottom, near the entry going down to the water, there could be a similar sign, so that the loop that goes to the house would be private and people shouldn't enter that. So I think we're still trying to make some progress there, and maybe we can explore this mediation if it seems worthwhile, and see if we can come up with some compromise here, short of getting more polarized. So that's where we are with that, and I don't know if anybody's heard of any other information about the landing itself.
know we had a couple of reports that more plantings were allegedly done, but we haven't been able to confirm if that is accurate. I don't know if anybody else has any information, but we had two separate reports that there might have been
Yeah.
more, but our attorney
I've heard
says they...
I've heard yes and I've heard no, so I'm not sure. Okay. What I might do at this juncture is to move F small d, ARPA funding, update and consider waiving certain bid requirements, that item, and then there's another item under new business, B, under new business, textile recycling bin, to follow the Tanamahaig report, because we have people in the audience who are here for that. I think it would be a courtesy to them to let them hear what we have to say and be on their way if they wish.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend our agenda, moving old business, letter D, ARPA funding, update and consider waiving certain bid requirements, and new business, letter B, textile recycling bin, presented by Mary Ellen Basham, up the agenda underneath C, Tanamahaig Landing.
Second.
Very good. It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So let's start with the ARPA funding.
Can they come up so that they can explain, or do you want to just give an explanation?
I guess we could bring the gentleman up, bring a chair. I know there are others that we'll be talking about as well. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Michael McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy, Deputy Chief of OLFD.
Okay, so let me set the stage here.
Yeah, sure.
So the ARPA loans, or the ARPA grants so-called, were in two different phases. The first phase was the economic recovery grants, and those I think were 33 in number. They were $10,000 and less, and those have been pretty much funded except for one. So that's done almost. The community initiative ones are the lion's share of the money, and there are, I believe, around 33 of them, I believe, but they're for larger dollars. And because the applications were submitted some time ago, the applicants had to supply quotes so that they say what they needed. And so a number of months have passed since that has happened. So we have, I believe, 6 different ones which I think would fit into the category. I'll just go through them briefly. We have the Oline Fire Department. There would be personal protective equipment, 25 sets of those outfits that would be $123,990. Also under the fire department, it would be a UTV, a utility vehicle. That's a pretty sophisticated vehicle, and it would be the vehicle and a trailer for the vehicle. And that's $62,583. The largest grant would be for the ambulance association. They wish to purchase a new ambulance at a price of $275,000. Emergency management has 2 electronic message boards that would be purchased for $24,122. The Swan Brook outlet wood crib and engineering work and evacuating the sand from the pipes, that is in for $55,000. And then the overhaul of the website, the town website, is $44,444. So those are the the larger categories here. And in as much as they are town agencies, the rules require that we have a bid process. But I think I and the departments feel that the applications did a lot of research on this. In the case of the UTV, I guess it's very difficult to find it, and so it's a supply chain type of thing. It's not easy. So there would likely be a motion to consider these as waiving a bid policy, since a lot of work has been done on these by the individual departments. So, Michael, I believe you're here to talk about the UTV in particular?
Yes. So the UTV in particular for the FD, basically, as you stated, with us getting quotes back in April, most of those quotes have expired, and some of the stuff isn't in production. Some of it isn't going to be in production for some stuff up to 3 years. So that's backing us into a corner as far as who we can go, if you require the bidding process, who we can go get bids from, because nobody has this stuff. We happened, with the UTV specifically, we happened to find a dealer in Virginia that has pretty much the exact unit sitting on their showroom floor at a reduced cost, brand new unit, reduced cost from our original bid. If we were to use him specifically, or I should say the only way we could use him specifically is if the bidding process was waived, because I have nobody to bid against him. Nobody has the specs to be able to bid against him. They don't have the product to do that. If I was able to use him, it would save us money, and that would correspond with it saves us about $8,500 from the original ARPA grant request. Now that $8,500 could also go towards the trailer purchase, which back in April we were looking at 10 to 11 grand. Right now we're looking closer to the $14,000-$15,000 range. So savings on one end could help us on the other end and make our overall ARPA fund, or our ARPA awarded money, a zero increase, which I believe would make the ARPA committee and the town happy if we didn't have any overages to deal with in the end. But in order for all this to work out money-wise, we are requesting that the bidding process be waived for these specific funds. So
you could actually make a deal on this particular unit, and it's in stock and available for you.
Yeah.
One of the hang-ups was that we received the money in installments, if you will.
Right.
So we now have all the funds that were supposed to come to us, so we have, at least that's not an obstacle anymore. So I hear what you're saying about the availability and so forth, and it sounds like a good deal. And
yeah, I mean, if the bidding process wasn't there, we'd be able to definitely save the money and be.
As you researched this, where they were available, were they kind of in the same price range?
So everybody is relatively in the same price range, because it's like buying a car. You have an MSRP from the factory that you have to kind of be within. But as we're seeing with motor vehicles right now, everybody is getting what they can for them because they're just not out there. So as we started our research in mid-May, because that is when we got quotes in early April to submit with the ARPA grant. By mid-May, a lot of these guys pulled those quotes because they expired and they didn't have the materials to honor those quotes. So we started doing our research back then. Between myself and Assistant Chief Ofield in the audience, we talked to and or visited almost 35 dealers up and down the East Coast, trying to find out where we could get this UTV from and still meet the 2-year deadline for the ARPA expiration date. And that's how we came across this dealer in Virginia. We've also secured, through a local business donation, free of charge shipping to get this unit to us here in Old Lyme.
Uh-huh.
A local business has donated their time to get it up here if the town decides to waive the bidding process, and we can commit to this unit.
So my only question is, and Nicole Ledger's here, our finance director. Nicole, as far as your reporting requirements to the federal government for ARPA funds, what you need is for us to indicate that we would waive this in certain circumstances where the supply chain has caused some issues.
You can waive it for whatever reason the board feels is necessary.
Okay.
That's the process.
Yep.
Even, I think because the department's already put down on this thing,
Mm-hmm.
the fire department, so is this just going to be a blanket for everything or just this one purchase? That's my caution to
Yeah.
My-
Similar issue with the PPE, turnout gear.
Yeah, I have a sole source.
Okay.
I'm good with PPE, so.
Yeah, that's another criterion, sole source.
Yeah.
My only concern is that there are no overages. You can requote, but people cannot come back to us and say, oh, I need 12,000 more. What they got is what they got, and if they don't have enough, they either have to reduce the quantity that they're buying, or they have to find funding for that additional money, because that's all there is.
Yeah.
And as far as your reporting, Nicole, if they don't spend the entire ARPA fund that they were granted, what is the procedure?
Well, the government wants that.
Right.
And that would be a normal case. I don't know if they would just
Would-
the material out and let keep it. I don't know that.
Well, they do have to report to you what they spent, show you sales slips, et cetera. So you will know, and then we will guide them, so they shouldn't spend it all.
Well, if one were to get an item for less money, then that residual, would that not go, say, to the social services fund?
It would come back to us, and it should go to social services, anything that was not spent.
Yeah.
That was what it was reported to be done with.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that that is
Yeah.
still the case. So I'd be happy to make a motion.
Well, let me,
Oh,
before
sorry.
you do that, please.
Sorry.
So,
moving it along.
just to talk to Mr. Overfield, the 123,990, that's still a good number?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So we hear your comments, and I think we don't have individuals for the rest of these to speak, but I think this block falls into this category of, for instance, like the website one, they do have an invoice. They spoke to a vendor and they have an invoice. The Swan Brook, I have a commitment for 35 of the 55. There's actually a spent on engineering, and so there might be some extra that would come back to the town when that's all said and done. Emergency management, I talked to Dave Roberge, and he indicated that price should be proper. I think that's a state price. Ambulance, I haven't heard back from the chief there, but I believe that must be, it may not be the exact number, but I haven't gotten it.
The ambulance money, they submitted their application and 501c3, so they're just going to get the lump sum.
Okay.
It's not going to go through us, so it's done.
Yeah, because that would outfit it with all sorts of things inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be part of the group then.
I'm sorry?
Doesn't need to be part of the group then with the bid process.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we even need to group it. I think what we just say, that in the case of the community initiative grants, if there is an issue with the quote being outdated and there is no other way to go, that the bidding process can be waived for any of them in the case that and as long as the paperwork is handed in to Nicole. The appropriate paperwork is still handed in to Nicole. Even if they just have one quote or that's it, that's fine. It's not they don't have to get 3.
Like you said before, though, I think you were nervous about making it a blanket policy. Nicole, did you want it to be more specific, or would you rather, do you want it to be more specific, or would you rather?
I think you have to just do a blanket on everything.
Okay.
Well, I chose these because they are for real capital goods. Something like the library or the Lyme Youth Service, these are programmatic and so forth, so these are real assets, so,
the book bike that they're getting is also an asset to the library. But I just think, Tim, otherwise we may see next month, we'll see 4 more people come in and say, we need to outdo this, but basically, as long as the paperwork is accurate and there is a quote.
Yeah, but Nicole, do you want to see actual documentation for anything that has a bid policy waived from the Board of Selectmen?
If you guys tonight waive the bid policy on all the town departments, let's say, which include commissions and all that, not the nonprofits or anything like that, I take the minutes and that shows that we follow the bid policy, which is what
Yeah, they can't buy anything else, and that's the paperwork that comes back to us. Otherwise, they have to return all of the money because they didn't buy what they applied for.
So it's safe, in this instance, they saved money on the UTV and the trailer. They can't buy an extra set of 10 turnout gears if they had extra money.
Or a new hose, or anything.
Right? They can't add the additional funds to that.
No.
There was a detail, though, because you had suggested maybe getting a used trailer, but then Nicole pointed out paperwork said a new trailer, and you can't buy a used trailer.
But he found a new trailer.
Yeah.
So he's covered.
Correct.
So
All right, so I make a motion to waive the bid policy on ARPA funding for any town department, commission, or committee.
Yeah, anything that falls under the town.
purview. I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Suzanne, do you have that all right?
I do, yes, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
What we can do is, we've got the money, you've got your information, we can, we're live, we can go.
Yeah, I'll
Same with the outfits.
I'll get stuff to Nicole on that, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing this to our attention as well.
Welcome.
The next item is the textile recycling bin, and we have a contingent here to speak to that. I spoke with Mary Ellen on this before, and it's an interesting concept because the clothing boxes that we see around town are really for items that can be reused, and I'm sure they're not always the best items, but they're serviceable and so forth. So what this is the next stage down below that to get people to think in terms of the couch cover, the dog was on it for 5 years, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
So.
And then we can make money off getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for hearing tonight.
Maybe you want to swivel the mic so she can be.
I
have it.
Look at some of this, that's fine.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can sit if you'd like.
The Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, so we're all here to try to get this pushed through. So what this is BC recycling textile bins. Right now, in Old Lyme, there's about 7 bins around town, and all those bins take clothing and toys and usable items. This bin is different in that it takes, like Tim said, the items that nobody wants anymore, like clothes that have holes in them, rags, used masks. I have a whole lot of examples I'll show you just because it's easier to see. So this bin, this company will take them, sell them to a recycling company, and they make wiping rags out of them, insulation for cars, insulation for homes, and some other items, and they pay you $100 per ton for this material. And they only work with municipalities and they only work with school systems. So they're different, again, with the other bins that you see around that are all private. They're a super great program. They're in Massachusetts, and Old Saybrook has a bin, East Haddam has a bin, Essex has a bin, and they're really popular out in the western part of Connecticut. It doesn't cost anything. It can go anywhere, as long as it's on like a
Town property.
A town property. So we sort of talked about what we would do with the money that came back from the bin. Obviously for us, our charge is to reduce the waste of the town. So this is one way we can do it. It's a tool that we don't have right now. So we can't really fulfill our charge if we're telling people to reduce your waste, but we don't have a place for them to take it. So we thought that the money could go back to the town to like different programs like Parks and Rec, the food share garden, social services, the PTOs, the animal shelter. And these are sort of some things that we still have to sort of talk about a little bit. But each month we thought, okay, so this month for February, let's just say, all the money that is collected for the month of February will go to the animal shelter. And so it can be sort of and the senior center too. It can be like a collective input from everybody. Like everybody has sort of an interest or a stake in it. So maybe somebody really loves the animal shelter and they're holding on their stuff and they dump it in the bin, and so they know that their contribution is going to something that interests them. So we can have like a schedule so people sort of know who's getting what each month.
February is the animal shelter month, and March is the senior center month,
Yeah, and it's not a lot of money, you know, but it's something. It's better than nothing. And like, just really quickly, I sent this email to Tim last week. So for instance, I'm gonna put my glasses on. So Haddam, so just for an example, so Haddam said last fiscal year they had 60,000 pounds and they made $3,000. So it's roughly like $250 per month. Essex, they had 7,000 pounds from April to September, so they're at like 358 right now. This is probably my favorite quote. So Carl Fortuna from Old Saybrook called and left a message on the phone and said, I asked him about the program, and he said it's better than a stick in the eye, and it's really a way for them to lessen their tonnage and get money. So he was all for it. And everybody I've spoken with has had really good, good customer support from this company, and they, you know, I think one of the things that they had a little bit of trouble with was when the program started, people were really using it, so it was overflowing quickly, and they were like, all we did was call them, and they came out like the next day or the day after, and they got the materials. So, I mean, it's very simple, but it seems really complex.
Is it the same style bin as the other closed bin?
Yeah.
So they're saying, like, do they go through it before they take out things that don't belong in there, which because happens in all of them, I'm sure you see it.
So what they do, and actually I'll give you a quick example here. So they go through it. Whatever they can use, they will send. Like if they think it's reusable, then they will send it to somebody that can actually use it. And then the rest of it, they send off to the companies that make the installation stuff. So this was my son's Halloween costume this year. It's literally a ghost. And I am going to put that in, well, I'm not going to put it in the trash, but somebody might just throw that in the trash. This is the scraps to it. This is an old mask. There's shoes here that maybe somebody can use, I don't know, but I don't want to give it to Goodwill because this is a jacket that my husband had, and it's a military jacket, so he doesn't want it, but he can't like give it to Goodwill because you have to cut the insignia out of it, but it's like not useful anymore. I'll just pull out a couple other random things. Oh, stuffed animals, that's a big one. And dog toys, they can go in the bin. Hats that have holes in them.
So make a kind of a nylon product too.
Yeah, so that was the other thing about trying to sort of differentiate between things that like are not usable anymore, and clothing, because the Chamber of Commerce has their bins around town, and that generates money for the schools, scholarships. So we don't want to like, right, exactly. So it would really be a lot of like social media outreach education to sort of separate the two, and I am all for that.
Like comforters and like pillows?
Yes, comforters, pillows. I mean, look at all this. So this is literally 10 pounds of just, mats like you can't use anymore. All these,
curtains and stuff?
yeah, curtains, all these bags that, like, I just, they're just, yeah, I try to repurpose everything I have, but I get to the point where I like just can't use stuff anymore. And then Tim had a really good point when I had a conversation with him. I didn't think of this, but like a lot of the times when they have like, they're cleaning out people's houses and things like that, estate sales, they have all this extra like material that they don't know what to do with, and it would be really good to try to reach out to some of the real estate agents and sort of just be in touch with them and say, hey, like if you're trying to get rid of this stuff, like the textile bin's available to do that. And then as I was doing the Halloween costume, I had all this scrap material, and I thought people who sew probably have a ton of extra material. I just throw it in the scrap bin. So I feel like it's a great program, and we can try it for a month. If we don't like it, they'll come and take it away. And I feel like you can't lose with it.
Do they automatically come once a month, or do you have, is it a set schedule once a month? And
I
then
think
if
they
you
come
overflow,
every
you have them
week.
come again, or?
I think they come every week,
Okay.
actually. But we can find that out.
Yeah.
They're really receptive. I text this girl and I call her all the time, and so she probably hates me, but
So this is the bin that they would put,
yes, that's the bin.
that they would put, and you would want one bin at the transfer station.
Ideally, we would love like more than one bin.
Okay.
But we are happy to start with one, just to start with, because at the transfer station, it's protected, it's open and closed, but that also limits people to when they can sort of dump things. And it would be nice to have another one in a location that, when we talked about this, like at the senior center over at Town Woods, where people are seeing it and they can get there, they're all there with their kids all the time, and it's open, but then, people could dump stuff there, and I mean, I would be checking it pretty regularly, or over by the animal shelter, but at the animal shelter, I feel like people don't really see that area a lot, they don't know it, but Lynn had said that she wouldn't mind because, we would also tell people to bring their blankets to the animal shelter too if they're usable, not to take away from her, that she ends up getting stuff that she can't use. People just give her all kinds of things, and she's like, I don't know what to do with them. So it might be good to have one down there, but it wouldn't be as visual to people. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, like tonight through email, later. I have pictures, diagrams, everything.
So the company's fairly flexible. If people put the wrong stuff there, they can just get rid of it?
Right?
I don't think they wouldn't leave it in the bin.
No, they take it out, they go through the bin, before they don't take the bin and just take what's in the bin, right?
The bin stays there. They take a trailer, and then they open the bin, and they pull everything out of it, and then they put it in their trailer, and then they take it wherever they take it to.
I'm pretty sure if it didn't belong in there, they would leave it back next to the bin, and if it's at the transfer station, we just throw it in,
Maybe you could find that out from them. What do they do with the things they don't want?
Hopefully they take them away and get rid of them.
They would take everything out of that bin. They wouldn't,
okay.
if there was like toys or something left there, they would take everything. I mean,
They only whatever the tonnage is, only is on the stuff that they can use.
I would think so. No, well, not the stuff that they can, yeah, I guess maybe. I can find that out. But like I'm thinking like toys and stuff, they would add that probably to their.
But they'll get rid of it.
I'm pretty sure they'll get rid of it. I can find out for sure, but I've asked her a couple times, like, what do you do with the stuff that people don't want? And she said, we just take everything and then we go through it all. So, I mean, obviously toys are not something that we would advertise belong there, but people are not always good about that.
Mr. Ruddy would like a lot of stuff going into his dumpsters.
Neighboring towns are already doing this, so we can talk with them
Yeah,
and find
true.
out how it has gone,
Yeah.
and if indeed everything has been taken away. And that means the company already comes down here. We're not the first ones that you're trying to do this with. So if they need some flexibility to pick up from us at times, they're making the circuit anyway.
Right.
So,
I would also think that this would be helpful towards our goals for Connecticut sustainability.
Right, reduce that 830 pounds per person
Yeah.
of waste that we, our households generate, that's there.
yeah, right there.
Yep.
50 cents.
Well, it'd be an important educational thing. Maybe there could even be a little holder on the container or near the container that would be the rules, so to speak. So if somebody was curious, they could take it home.
I've got 2 bags in Goodwill right now with flannel sheets that don't work anymore because the plastic's all gone.
Yeah.
I'll just pull them out. Just get the bin here and that'll...
Yeah.
I do confess I have to take a bin to...
You ought to speak with Don Ruddy.
Okay.
You and I can go up there maybe.
Sure.
And Stephanie at the senior center could comment on that.
Okay.
If you come in and go past the senior center toward the rear of the property there, toward High Hopes, they have their enclosure for trash and stuff, but they want to place the thing in it
Yeah.
so it doesn't look too dreadful,
Right, and that's the thing.
but accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I did talk with Corey about like modifying, they're super flexible with like modifying things on the bin so that if we wanted to say like, do not leave toys here, they would put that on the bin. And then they do have a contract, she sent it to me, and Tim had asked about it. It's a pretty boilerplate standard contract. And it says something in there about like 6 months, like it has to stay for 6 months, and I asked her about it. She's like, no, everything can be modified. We're super flexible. So, yeah. Yes, they do. Thank you, Jim. So they partner with a program called SMART. That's my Boston accent gets in the way
Yeah,
sometimes.
I got one too.
Okay, that's like one word I can't say. SMART, and it's an acronym. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's an educational piece of all this. It might be in one of the handouts I sent. Maybe I sent it to you, Tim. But so because they do work with a lot of school systems, they have all these resources through this program. The program actually goes to the classrooms and talks about recycling and talks about like what you can do to reduce your waste, talks about the textile bin. And I don't know how we can utilize that, but I'm sure that we can somehow. They have tons of flyers to give out. They have just so many resources. So they are a partnership that works together.
I think that's
free.
I think that would be a great assembly at the schools, and I'm sure I could talk to Ian about that.
Well, so I do have to say that we tried to get this on to the school system. So I just moved here like 2 years ago, and we did this in Massachusetts, and I'm part of the PTO. I'm not on the PTO, but I go to all the meetings. There's 2 kids in the schools, and I had suggested that to them. I'm like, we did this in Massachusetts, and it generated a lot of money for the PTO, and they brought it to Ian, and I'm looking at Karen because she was at the meeting, and he wasn't super hot on it because it's a bin on property. It doesn't look, well, it's not terrible looking, but it's not aesthetic.
Well, he may not want the bin, but I think he might be okay. The education.
Yeah, the education
would probably be more acceptable, so that just like we do with recycling in the schools and truck programs, that we provided them with a background information, a foundation of what it is that they're supposed to be doing, and hopefully they go home and tell their parents and whatever. And
yeah, that would be super great. Like, really great.
Get something in the Lime Times, and
you can still organize drives with the school. They just need to take them to the bins at the transfer station.
Right,
Yeah.
so they have
Yeah.
box in
Right.
front of the school, and we come and grab it. Or someone from the committee comes and grabs it and goes and puts it in the bin for you.
Pick their month.
Yeah.
We were thinking of maybe one of the schools, certain months, that might be a drive, depending on,
Yeah, so we, I thought about the schools for a while because I'd really love the PTO to be a part of it. Well, one, because they do such great work here, and 2, because I feel like I sort of owe them a little because I already I helped them sort of pitch this and they were denied. So I thought, so morally I'm like, I can't leave them out. I thought it would be good for them because there's a couple of them. There's 4 PTOs and then a Safe Grab program for the high school. So I thought that starting in June, July, August, September. Those 4 months will be totally dedicated to schools, PTO, Safe Grad, so that when school starts, and usually the PTO meetings are like the 1st of October, they'll know how much money they have in their budget for the following year. So they'll have a check from, I don't know how much it'll be, $50, $60, and it'll be split among them. So people know for over the summer, anything that's going in the bin is going to go to the school.
Or, just because I'm a former teacher, I might say, you can also put it out there that Mile Creek might be September, and you show kids what a ton might look like, whether, and then encourage Mile Creek to try to raise a ton.
It's just sheets off his bed, bring it
Before, or right after, whatever. But if you can do that, and then they could get it, or just maybe 1 month, that all the schools try to raise a ton. And then split it. But that's part of the educational thing, too. It's because once you've educated them, and then you try to make it into a game.
That's super. Sort of like the truck challenge.
Yes.
See our enthusiasm for wanting to get.
I know, right? I'm like,
there's so many good possibilities.
There's so many good possibilities.
So what is she?
You could even do the senior
Well, I think we can,
Fall
she and I can go to the transfer station,
raise a ton.
and Stephanie at the senior center, two logical places to start, and see. I think there is a bin at the transfer station, so I know they don't have a whole lot of space for things, but, we might be able to squeeze
so can
it in.
we make a motion here that
Why don't we just go out there and...
saying that we
if
give you
can get the
permission to
sense
enter
that
the contract once their questions are answered,
we're
because it's not.
enthusiastic about it, and see if we can get, I think it's only fair to talk to the two parties that...
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Endorsement now, so we can move forward with the details of it.
So, isn't there
there is a you have to sign to say you're going to be taking the bin or on your property. But I don't have a contract signed right now. I was just sort of waiting to see.
Because it'd be nice to come out of here with the board approval so that we can move forward.
Well, we can approve the idea, but I don't think we can say it's going to be here and there without talking to the
That's right.
people.
Yeah.
We support the program, we just have to finalize the details.
Right.
That's it.
We'll see you next month.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, but we support it so you can get all the stuff and we can just...
Yeah.
So I think, Tim, we could make the motion that we approve the program with 2 bins to be determined where they will be placed on town property. How about that? And then you'll go on a field trip and figure out where they're going to go?
Yeah, I guess we understand the concept, we just have to figure out where and all that. It has to be on town property, so...
Yes, so, can I make that motion then?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll second it.
Okay. Did you get that, Suzanne?
T-shirt. All right, so we'll go on a little magical tour.
Awesome. I can
Very
go
excited.
Monday through
Good
Friday
job.
between 9 and 2. So.
Do you need us to make another motion that you can sign the contract upon your approval?
Sure.
Tim, Matt, make that motion.
I'll make a motion once final details are made regarding the textile recycling bins. We give the first selectman permission to enter in their contract with Bay State Textile Bin Company.
I can email you that.
It's called Bay State?
Yeah, Bay State Textile Bin. Right?
Or Bay State Textile.
Oh, sorry, Bay State Textile. Bay State Textile.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. More discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. Good job, guys. We appreciate it.
All right.
All right, Tim, I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Karen.
Hey, people, getting their stuff before Christmas comes, you know what I mean? It's nice to get one in by December.
I'm sending it with...
Okay, so we're going to move along here.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, there's no
I'll talk to you.
applications, so that's easy. Next is the appointments on the Inland Wetlands Commission. There's a vacancy. So we have the suggestion of John Measham to fill a 3-year term ending on the 31st of January 2023.
I'll make the motion to appoint John Measham to the open position on the Inland Wetlands Commission for a 3-year term ending January 31st, 2023.
All right, any discussion?
He's filling the position, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
He's moving up from an alternate.
got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Okay, projects, the Halls Road improvement. The RFP is being worked on. I think we talked about the fact that it looks like the budget for the engineering part of it, which would be the bridge, the approaches to the bridge, would be roughly $172,000. They have a grant source, and then the town would need to kick in. So I think as we solicit the RFP, then we would be making we'd have a discussion with the Board of Finance and move the ball forward. But this is to get the RFP done, and then once the RFP is out there, we'll get some bidding on it, and hopefully we will be able to move forward with that.
So do we need a motion on this?
I don't believe so at this point. I think that the BSC, which is the engineering outfit, has been working on the text of the RFP, and then once it's ready to go, then we would go out there.
Okay.
At this point, until we get a number for an engineering outfit to quote on it, we don't really know what the final price will be. So it's kind of a cart before the horse, or horse before the cart. You know, we want to get the RFP out there, see what the numbers are, and then we do have the ARPA money, which covers a lot of it, not all of it.
Yep.
And so the shortfall would need to be made up by town resources or perhaps some other grant funding, but I've not heard that there is another grant at this point. And I think this all would be happening in 2023, really.
Okay. And they're going before the zoning.
Yes, for the
November
for the
14th.
overlay. Yeah.
For their overlay, and
Yeah.
at 6:30. So we should remind people to attend if they're interested.
Yeah.
November 14th at 6:30 for zoning road overlay. Will be discussed.
The next one is the sidewalk, the new sidewalk. The bus shelter has been received from the SJ District, and it has been installed by Public Works. It looks very nice. And I understand there will be a dedication on the 21st of November. I don't have a time as yet, but
Okay.
that's what I've heard. Townview Sewers, no report. Senior Center, that is just going through the paces of the architects working on the schematic drawings, so nothing to report there. Ferry Road sidewalk, I'm trying to line up. I've talked with the engineer to have a meeting with the owners of 11 Ferry Road. The engineer did the survey as well, so he would be quite knowledgeable about whether the fence is on their side of the boundary or not. I believe it is not. And there's also a zoning issue with the arbor, which is too tall.
So can they go to a variance for the arbor?
I guess they could try, or they could just eliminate it. Just have a gate. It's kind of a big... So that would be a zoning matter, though. That started under Dan Moret, so...
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get that within a week, a meeting with them, because the the plan would be to have this go out to bid in the first of the year, and so this needs to be resolved. Next is Swan Brook Outlet. I covered that earlier. So I think there's two things that can happen here. One would be we have two possible contractors who could remove the sand from the pipe. So we'll try to get them to actually go on site and have a look, see. We can open up the hatch, hopefully, and have them see where the blockage is in the pipe, and then measure it to see how much material needs to be removed.
So we will get quotes for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And will you bring those quotes to us, or are you going?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I'm going to try to schedule a session to have them either come at the same time, it's situation, or maybe in separate times if they'd rather, and have a look at the actual blockage.
Now, if I remember right, Tim, last winter, the information was that the tides are much lower in the winter, so it's a better time to work on it. If that's your understanding? That's what, in December last year when we went down to look at it, I remember, I think it was the man from DACO who said the tides are much lower in the winter months, and it's so much easier to do this when you have a low tide system, when you have low tide in the winter.
Yeah, I really don't know how to answer that in terms of whether the winter has lower.
You have to go down and stand there.
Yeah. So the other question I had is that without the sheathing on the vertical pilings, I'm not sure how wide apart they are. I'd have to look again. But if the machine, I expect that once you sandblast, say, the sand out of there, that you need to move that back, because if you're talking like 50 feet of sand times 3 feet, that's going to be quite a bulk. So we need to have it so that that sand can be removed. To me, it would be a shame if you would rely on the loader going over top of the structure and digging out and picking it up. So I think we should check to see how wide apart the
spaces,
pilings are, and if it's easier to get rid of the sand. Now, in talking with Todd Macknick, he said, well, the crib would provide protection for a storm or something that might happen after you clean it out. So that, I suppose there's somewhat of a risk that if you clean it out and a storm event happened, it could push stuff back in there. But we'll analyze that and get two contractors to look at it.
Great.
Button ball, the 36 button ball, the committee made a recommendation which we approved, and that was to put a couple of signs directing the public to the area there, and the parking has been created, small number of spaces, and Public Works has removed the trees that presented a risk. They had fallen into another tree, so they've been removed. So I think there'd be a couple more signs once you park and walk to the bank. We need to have a couple of signs there that would say no entry to the marsh at this point. And as I mentioned, Evan Griswold has identified a person within DEP that could perhaps evaluate the marsh for public access. So that's the next part.
Okay.
And that meeting is coming up
next week.
Mid-month, I think.
Next week, right, Matt? It's the 15th?
The 36 button ball.
I think it's 17th. 17th?
17th?
I think, is it the 17th? Are you?
I think you're right. I think it might be the 17th. Yeah.
What do you have? I came out today, I know that.
8 o'clock.
I know it's 8 o'clock. They like, or 8:15, they like this
Okay.
early time. I think it's 8.
Okay. Shoreline Gateway Committee.
Yes. We canceled our meeting in October, but we will be meeting this month. We had 1,205 respondents for our survey, and the partial results were sent to the committee members a week ago Sunday, and the open-ended questions are being put into an easy-to-read format, and those will go out later this week. There's a lot of open-ended questions, a lot of data.
Good.
And the meeting's Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.
At 4 p.m.
Do you think that's going to take a couple of months to sort through or longer?
It's next Thursday is our meeting, right? Isn't it?
No, it's this Thursday. Isn't it?
No, because
I'm sorry, yeah, 17th, excuse me,
17th.
Yep.
Yeah. Say that again?
Might take a while to sort through that and come up with a summary of it all.
I think that it's probably going to take the committee October, November to sort through and come up with some, maybe we'll build into subgroups. Matt and I have to really talk and see how it's going to fit together once we see it and which directions they want to go. I think there's some really good ideas in the ones that I've read. People have some good ideas.
Good.
And mini golf is a real hot topic, let me tell you.
Is it?
It is mentioned a lot. Mini golf. Mini golf.
Mini golf. Yeah, you got the rudiments of it right there.
Yeah.
Next one is the hiring process. We have, we're getting toward the end of the process here. We have some very good prospects for the human resource generalist, the first selectman is executive assistant, and the senior center director's assistant. I think we have pretty much concluded the interviews. I've done a reference check. There'll be some additional reference checks going on, and I think we'll be able to come up with some recommendations. What I think the next step would be to have the interview panel and perhaps the salary committee come together to finalize the offer dollar amount. And then there was a recommendation in the front office of 35 hours, and for the 25 hours for the senior center assistant. Lyme has already approved the 25-hour for the senior center assistant. We talked about it. So I think as we maybe possibly we could even meet later this week or first of next week to get those details fleshed out. And I think the three of us plus Nicole were on 2 of the interviews. And I think that if we engaged the 2 people on Board of Finance, Russell and Kelsey, we could get that would be final form. That would be terrific. Next.
I would just say, though, if you are planning on, after your reference check, if you are planning on making an offer to these people, I would strongly suggest you let them know the offer is coming, because if they are considering other positions, at least they know that they are the front runner and they are being considered, and they'll wait before they take it until they see ours.
Right. Well, that's easily done.
Because if we just go radio silent, it's
Yeah,
not a
that-
good thing.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
So, once you're assured that you're good with those, then maybe you could call them and say, you've just got to pull a salary committee together to make the written offer.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, next, the Millstone evaluated exercise went very nicely. Dave Roberge attended the follow-up from the evaluators, and everybody was happy, so that's good. The Kevin Roach Step 2 grievance meeting occurred. We approved the minutes that encapsulated that, so I think the next step will be to speak with council and figure out just how we respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then we have new business. Obviously, tomorrow we have a big day. We have the state and federal election. We have the school referendum. So the polls are being put together right now, and so we will be having voting. The registered voters in our line will use the middle school gymnasium, and the non-registered voters, property owners, would use the middle school cafeteria. The Connecticut River Amtrak received a communication on that from Amtrak itself, and so in early 2023 will be the start of the procurement phase to select a contractor for the construction of a new Connecticut River Railroad bridge. As part of more than a $500 million investment from Amtrak, Connecticut DOT, and the Federal Railway Administration, the new bridge will be delivered via a design bid build delivery method with an anticipated contract award in late 2023, and construction would start in early 2024. This is a 1907 bridge, and it will involve building a 2-track electrified and resilient movable bridge structure equipped with new track signal and catenary power, communication, controls, and security features. And the bridge is expected to have a useful life of 150 years, which is maybe longer than this one. So I think it'll be built to the south of the existing bridge. So I imagine they'll have to go back and feather it out from the track. I don't know how far they have to go back, and then rejoin on our side. You know, but they'll figure it all out. And they don't say what happens to the old one when the new bridge is done, but I expect it'll be removed. So that's that.
So I hope they're going to get that done during the winter. So, 'cause otherwise boat traffic is going to be a little crazy on the river.
I can't imagine. Well, I suppose if they work on the center, they'll probably start from both ends and meet in the middle, and then, maybe they can time that, because that's where the boat traffic would be. The bigger ones. Now, the next item is to review the holiday schedule. I'm sorry I didn't get this to you earlier, but it includes the holidays we have had plus Juneteenth, which is the 19th of June this year. And this is from the state calendar. So I'll show you that, and then we can vote on that. And then The Selectmen's meetings for 2023 are the first Monday of the month, unless it's a holiday. And the January meeting, we may need to modify that, or maybe have a special one for the appointments, because having it on the 3rd might be a little tight, because we have to go out with the appointments, get letters back and all that. Usually it's mid to 3rd week of January. We
have a special meeting just for appointments, maybe?
Possibly.
Makes sense.
It becomes...
Because you also will have a new executive assistant.
Yes.
And that will allow that person to...
Get up to speed on that. Well, that onboard system is going to be very helpful, yes. And in addition, we put on here the annual town meeting, town budget hearing, and a town budget meeting. So,
do you want me to sign this? Do you want me to sign this?
Sure. I'll show that to you first, and then we'll trade. Okay.
Yeah, I think if we break out that appointment stuff.
Yeah, we can just call for a special meeting. That doesn't need a signature, but it's just,
So we'll make a motion to approve the 2023 Town of Old Lyme holiday schedule.
And put them together.
And the Board of Selectmen schedule of meetings for 2023.
Okay, Mr.
I'll second, but I think we should want a date on here. I don't think July 3rd is the best day to have a Board of Selectmen meeting. It's a Monday, and the next day is a holiday, which means a lot of people, that'll be a 4-day weekend.
So July 10th, maybe?
Yeah, I think it should be moved to the next week because of the holiday, Tim.
Go ahead, you can go to bed.
Thank you.
I think that date should be possibly...
A week later, the 10th.
July 10th.
A week later, because
I agree.
people will be either out of town but they won't come, and it'll be the 3 of us sitting here with Suzanne.
4 of us, 5 of us.
Move it to the 10th.
All right, so...
With the modifying the...
Well, just want to... It was not seconded, so...
Okay.
No, I did. I seconded it for point of discussion. So...
Well, let's do that. We can amend it. We can make that to 10th.
So amending the July 3rd, 2023 meeting to July 10th, 2023.
And I'll second that amendment.
So the amendment is to make it July 10th versus the 3rd.
Okay.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're back to the motion as amended to approve the holiday schedule along with the
Holiday.
the holiday schedule and the modified Board of Selectmen agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Very good.
Can you get copies of those to us?
Yeah.
So that we can...
Put them in the box.
Thank you.
And last, we had the CCM convention last week, which was very good. I only made the afternoon part of it due to the snowstorm, but there were some good workshops and good networking and so forth. I think they did a nice job. So.
Yep, Matt and I were both there, and there were 3 workshops, 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. We learned some really interesting...
Get a lot of goodie bag and the good stuff?
Yeah, it's all on your desk. Back for you.
All right, then. Anybody with other business?
I have 2 other things. One is the residents of Old Lyme should be paying attention to the proposals for the new I-95 restructuring. There is a virtual meeting on the 15th of November. It is going to be offered twice that day at 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. and you can sign up online. I will get the link to that to sign up to Tim tomorrow, and maybe that could be put on our website for people. They are asking people to pre-register. They'll send you, and there's also down at the bottom of the webpage, there's a link to the survey, and you should participate. There are people who have reminded us that when they did this last, they tried to make Exit 70 into a clover leaf and take out the Halls Road Shopping Center.
Oh, for crying out loud.
It was. It's in John Stratton remembers it years ago. So anyway, so we should just be paying attention. I have seen a preliminary move for Exit 71, which is parallel to 95. It's going to be a straightaway.
Well, is that the Rocky Neck connector coming around?
Yeah, they're going to do
behind the current thing.
Behind the current thing, so it would run parallel with 95, but somehow still go up the hill where Exit 71
Yeah,
is.
it'll just go behind the cloverleaf on the Rocky Neck on-ramp, and then those wishing to go up to 4 Mile River Road can do so. And
so that was the first plan, but there could have been changes, so we should pay attention.
Well, I remember that, probably 10, 12 years ago, an engineering outfit went from Brantford to the border, I think, and was doing all those interchanges, looking at interchanges.
That's where this goes. They were talking about putting a third lane on both sides, and it never came to fruition. So.
Well, when you think of all the wetlands and all the bridges and stuff, widening, I think the 3 lanes at this point would be horrendous, but it doesn't work well.
So then just one other thing. On October 21st, I had the opportunity through CCM to take a course on grant writing through UConn, and I have a slide deck. So if anyone who's on a committee or a commission and they're thinking about applying for a grant and they would like this is was geared towards municipalities and nonprofits. So I'm happy to share them. Just send me an email and I'll send it along to you. I'm also happy to help.
So this is offered to residents that might be interested in taking a course on grant writing?
No, CCM offered it for CCM members.
Oh.
And the person who taught it teaches it at UConn, so she did it virtually. But basically, you could get some CCM credits for PD. So I thought with all the future of hard times, if our fiscal responsibility, we should be looking for as much grant money as possible.
Right. But you're not saying that somebody who would like to take that same course can?
No, but I'm happy to share the slides deck with it, which has got a lot of good information on it. And I think that also I have some links that she also gave us for all the upcoming grants and how it consistently changes and to go to. So it's another thing that I will send to both of you because we should be looking for it as resources for our committees and commissions.
Yeah.
The only thing I had for other business is just recognizing Veterans Day on the 10th for all the veterans who have given their life to this country or are serving, including my father and Mr. Griswold himself. So thank you for all the veterans for all you've done to make this country a great place to be. So thank you.
Yeah, the school is to be commended for having school on Veterans Day. So at 8 o'clock, there's a breakfast for vets in the middle school, and then there's an assembly. Then people walk over to the high school. There'll be another small reception there, assembly. Then around 11:15, we come back to Town Hall and have the flagpole ceremony here. I believe Mile Creek does something at 2, and I think Lime School does something in the afternoon, a tea of some sort. So the schools, I think each of the schools does a program, which is quite commendable, and middle school and high school really do quite a job.
Yes, they do.
So we'd love to have people come to the one here at the flagpole, because there's a brief but meaningful ceremony, and we stopped the traffic on Lime Street for a bit, and it's a nice touch. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Looks like 6:55. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.